The 12 Brothers. Once upon a time, there lived a king and queen very peacefully together. They had 12 children, all boys. Now the king said to the queen one day, "If our 13th child should be a girl, the 12 boys, the 12 boys shall die, so that the kingdom may fall to her alone." Okay. 2 paragraphs, and this is already not suitable for all audiences. One day, maybe I will discover, maybe I'll go for like 3 paragraphs before it becomes terrible. Then he caused 12 coffins to be made, and they were filled with shavings and a little pillow laid in each, and they were brought and put into a locked up room. And the king gave the key to the queen and told her to say nothing. Told her to say nothing about it to anyone. But the mother sat the whole day sorrowing, so that her youngest son, who never left her, and to whom she had given the biblical name Benjamin, said to her, "Dear mother, why are you so sad?" "Dearest child," answered she, "I dare not tell you." But he let her have no peace until she went and unlocked the room and showed him the 12 coffins with the shavings and the little pillows. Then she said, "My dear Benjamin, your father has caused these coffins to be made for you and your 11 brothers. And if I bring a little girl into the world, you are all to be put to death together and buried therein." She wept as she spoke, and her little son comforted her and said, "Weep not, dear mother. We will save ourselves and go far away." You could wait until maybe there is a daughter born, and like have a bug out bag for each of the brothers and run away right away, because maybe it'll never happen, right? Then she answered, "Yes, go with your 11 brothers out into the world, and let one of you always sit on the top of the highest tree that can be found, and keep watch upon the tower of this castle. If a little son is born, I will put out a white flag, and then you may safely venture back again. But if it is a little daughter, I will put out a red flag, and then flee away as fast as you can, and the dear God watch over you. Every night I will arise and pray for you, in winter that you may have a fire to warm yourselves by, and in summer that you may not languish in the heat." After that, when she had given her sons her blessing, they went away out into the wood. One after another kept watch, sitting on the highest oak tree and looking towards the tower. When 11 days had passed and Benjamin's turn came, he saw a flag put out. It was not white, but blood red, to warn them that they were to die. Then they went deeper into the wood, and in the middle where it was darkest, they found a little enchanted house standing empty. Then they said, "Here we will dwell, and you, Benjamin, the youngest and weakest, shall stay at home and keep house. We others will go and find food." Then they went into the wood and caught hares, wild does, birds and pigeons, and whatever else is good to eat, and brought them to Benjamin for him to prepare and cook to satisfy their hunger. So they lived together in the little house for 10 years, and the time did not seem long. By this time the queen's little daughter was growing up. She had a kind heart and a beautiful face, and a golden star on her forehead. Is that an expression or something? Golden star on her forehead. Golden star on her forehead. Maybe that's a reference to something. Let's discover what that means. Okay, so let me... Please excuse me. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you over here. Okay, so there's a reference to a movie. What does having a star on your forehead even look like? The person with a star, sun, or moon on their face appears in several different tail types. However, depending on the tail, the details are a little baffling. What does having a star on your forehead even look like? Is it a literal star? No, I'm sure it's not a literal, like a literal star. We can't have one of those on Earth. They're out in space. Is it some kind of crown? Is it a birthmark shaped like a star? See, I wanted to think that it was a crown. Sounds very crown-like because we're talking about a princess here. The unusually decorated girl appears in the 12 Brothers, Germany. That's the one I'm reading right now. The Unnatural Mother and the Girl with a Star on Her Forehead, which is from Mozambique. I think that was the movie reference I just saw a moment ago. And The Maiden with the Rose on Her Forehead is a story from Portugal. In some versions of the Arne Thompson Uther Type 850, so that's a different fairy tale, and they have references like these numbers. So that story is called The Birthmarks of the Princess. She has birthmarks shaped like stars, suns, or moons. Sometimes in the tale of the kind and unkind girls, which is, I guess it's another fairy tale, the star is a reward given to a generous young woman. Oh, okay, her selfish and greedy sister receives horns. This is kind of spoiling for another story that I might read in the future. And actually, it might be worth me bookmarking this and maybe looking up all these different other stories. That's pretty cool, looking up fairy tales. Okay, so this at least doesn't have a good answer right away. Okay. Okay. So the answer that page gives is that writer doesn't know. Okay, I'm going to go with that. So this is something that can be thought about, that can be looked up. So let's think about that for a second. Okay, so her brothers don't have any kind of marks like that. So we don't know. The mom doesn't have any marks like that we know of right now. Okay, so oh my, I totally lost my space. My place. Okay. They went out into the wood, 11 days. Okay. Whoa, did I miss a paragraph here? I think I missed a paragraph here because I don't remember this here. When the brothers learned this, they were angry and said, "Shall we suffer death because of a girl? We swear to be revenged. Wherever we find a girl, we will shed her blood." Now, that was an important thing. I'm sorry I missed that. And then they went out into the woods and they hid away for 10 years. And they fed themselves and the time passed really quickly. Okay, so I missed this part up here. So by this time, the queen's little daughter was growing up. She had a kind heart and a beautiful face and the golden star on her forehead. So maybe it means she's a good person. Maybe it's a crown. Maybe it's a kind of a birthmark. Well, that's a little bit weird. Okay, so we're gonna just leave that where it is. So it's okay to not know. Once when there was a great wash. Is that like rain? Once when there was a great wash, she saw among the clothes 12 shirts, and she asked her mother, "Whose are these 12 shirts?" So like the washing, so the laundry. "They are too small to be my father's." Then the mother answered with a sore heart, "Dear child, they belong to your 12 brothers." The little girl said, "Where are my 12 brothers? I have never heard of them." And her mother answered, "God only knows where they are wandering about in the world." Then she led the little girl to the secret room and unlocked it and showed her the 12 coffins with the shavings and the little pillows. "These coffins," said she, "were intended for your 12 brothers, but they went far away when you were born." Well, actually, before she was born. And she related how everything had come to pass. Then said the little girl, "Dear mother, do not weep. I will go and seek my brothers." So she took the 12 shirts and went far and wide in the great forest. Alone? And she's a princess? and she's that important to her father? That's a little strange. The day sped on, and in the evening she came to the enchanted house. She went in and found a youth, who asked, "Whence do you come, and what do you want?" And he marveled at her beauty, her royal garments, and the star on her forehead. Couldn't he guess who she is with the royal garments? Then she answered, "I am a king's daughter, and I seek my 12 brothers. I will go everywhere under the blue sky until I find them." And she showed him the 12 shirts which belonged to them. Then Benjamin saw that it must be his sister, and said, "I am Benjamin, your youngest brother." And she began weeping for joy, and Benjamin also, and they kissed and cheered each other with great love. After a while he said, "Dear sister, there is still a hindrance. We have sworn that any maiden whom we meet must die, as it was because of a maiden that we had to leave our kingdom." No, it was because of their father, their awful, awful, awful king father. Don't blame her. She's completely innocent. Like, honestly, she was not even born at the time. Well, actually, she was just born when they made the oath. That's okay. Don't blame her. Even after 10 years, they're still all angry. Good thing they were in the woods. Otherwise, if any maidens kind of walked past their place, they'd probably be bandits or something like that. Then she said, "I will willingly die, if by doing so I may benefit my 12 brothers." See, she's really good, sort of. I don't want to say anything to me, but she's better off like talking to her father about this problem. Like, "Dad, it's okay. I don't have to be the only one alive to get the inheritance and be queen." "No," answered he, "you shall not die. Sit down under this tub until the 11 brothers get home, and we come to an agreement about it." She did so, and as night came on, they returned from hunting, and supper was ready. And as they were sitting at table and eating, they asked, "What news?" Why would there be any news? They've had for 10 years, Benjamin's been staying at home, not doing anything. And just because he was younger at the time when they started going out hunting, it's been 10 years. He's grown up. They should be like trading who stays home. He's old enough to hunt now, unless he was, I mean, even if he was like 6 years old or something at the time, he's old enough to at least hunt with 11, well, what it would be 11 brothers going out. He would be old enough, even if he were 16, to go out hunting with 10 other brothers. Like, that's a good hunting party. Although I don't know what they were princes, so maybe they left with a whole lot of stuff and they weren't doing too bad. Okay, where was I? Asking about what news for Benjamin. And Benjamin said, "Don't you know any?" "No," answered they, because maybe they have stories because they've actually gone out hunting. So he said, "You have been in the wood, and I have stayed at home, and yet I know more than you." "Tell us," cried they. He answered, "Promise me that the first maiden we see shall not be put to death." He's kind of tricking them. "Yes, we promise," cried they all. "She shall have mercy." Then he said, "Our sister is here." He lifted up the tub, and the king's daughter came forth in her royal garments with her golden star on her forehead, and she seemed so beautiful, delicate, and sweet that they all rejoiced. And they fell on her neck and kissed her and loved her with all their hearts. After this she remained in the house with Benjamin and helped him with the work. The others went forth into the woods to catch wild animals, does, birds, and pigeons for food for them all, and their sister and Benjamin took care that all was made ready for them. She fetched the wood for cooking, and the vegetables, and watched the pots on the fire, so that supper was always ready when the others came in. She also kept great order in the house, and the beds were always beautifully white and clean, and the brothers were contented and lived in unity. Now remember, she's 10 years old, so she definitely has to stay home and not go out hunting anyway. So don't get any ideas. One day the two got ready a fine feast, and when they were all assembled, they sat down and ate and drank, and were full of joy. Now there was a little garden belonging to the enchanted house, in which grew 12 lilies. I thought, now I'm thinking water lilies, but are there like plant lilies, like regular soil lilies? I guess there are. Now whose house is this? And how enchanted is it? Why is it called an enchanted house? The maiden, thinking to please her brothers, went out to gather the 12 flowers, meaning to give one to each as they sat at meat. But as she broke off the flowers, in the same moment the brothers were changed into 12 ravens and flew over the wood far away, and the house with the garden also disappeared, so the poor maiden stood alone in the wildwood. Okay, so I guess my question was answered. It's definitely enchanted. At least the garden is. And as she was looking around her, she saw an old woman standing by her, who said, "My child, what hast thou done? Why couldst thou not leave the 12 flowers standing? They were thy 12 brothers, who are now changed to ravens forever." How is she supposed to know that? Maybe she didn't even know it was an enchanted cabin in the woods. She's just trying to be nice. The maiden said, weeping, "Is there no means of setting them free?" "No," said the old woman. "There is in the whole world no way but one, and that is difficult. Thou canst not release them but by being dumb for 7 years. So dumb here means to not be able to speak. "Thou must neither speak nor laugh, and wert thou to speak one single word, and it wanted but 1 hour of the 7 years, all would be in vain. Thy brothers would perish because of that one word." There are a few stories that are like that, not just in the Brothers Grimm. I'm thinking in Greek mythology. I can't remember the story, but it was about him looking. It's the same kind of thing, being challenged to do something. Then the maiden said in her heart, "I am quite sure that I can set my brothers free." So she's got to feel guilty. But because there's no cabin in the woods anymore, she can't just stay. I mean, she's 10. So she can't stay alone in the woods for how many years? 7 years on her own. But that would, if she were older and if there was still a cabin, her staying out in the woods would probably be the best thing. But now she can't. She has to go back. And she went and sought a tall tree, climbed up, and sat there spinning, and never spoke or laughed. So I'm going to guess she's not carrying a spinning wheel. Do I not quite understand how? Okay, spinning involves a spinning wheel. That's why it's called spinning. She's 10 and she climbed a tree. That's hard enough because she's in her royal clothing still, I think. But she carried a spinning wheel up a tree? A tall tree. That's impressive. So maybe she's got pulleys and she's really smart. Okay, so she's smart. Now it happened that a king who was hunting in the wood had with him a large greyhound, who ran to the tree where the maiden was, sprang up at it, and barked loudly. Up came the king and saw the beautiful princess with the golden star on her forehead, and he was so charmed with her beauty that he prayed her to become his wife. So it's a different king, and he's poaching through another king's land? Ooh. That's war. She gave no answer, only a little nod of her head. Then he himself climbed the tree and brought her down, set her on his horse, and took her home. The wedding was held with great splendor, but the bride neither spoke nor laughed. I'm glad they did neither nor. After they had lived pleasantly together for a few years, the king's mother, who was a wicked woman, began to slander the young queen, and said to the king, "She is only a low beggar maid that you have taken to yourself. Who knows what mean tricks she is playing? Who is this woman?" The young queen. Okay, so the king's mother. So her kind of what's the term? Her mother-in-law, essentially. But she was in her fancy clothes. Okay, well, so this king's mother She's not good. She's not nice. Okay. Who knows what mean tricks she is playing? After years of marrying her? Even if she is really dumb and cannot speak, she might at least laugh. Not to laugh is the sign of a bad conscience. Not really. A mute person can't. Obviously, they can smile, but can they laugh? I don't know. I've never known somebody who can't speak. It's pretty rare. I've known people that have trouble like talking because they have a sore throat. I mean, that's common enough that I've known people when they're like that, even recently. But I mean, he was the guy I'm thinking of. He was really sad because he was sick, and so I would kind of talk to him, and he was sad that he couldn't really talk back, maybe because he's not used to not being able to speak. So he kind of like nod and be like unhappy. But so maybe she's kind of like that, where she can't really be happy because she's not going to let herself laugh. And because maybe if she smiles too much, she'll accidentally make a sound. That's really a shame. Okay. At first, the king would believe nothing of it. Good. But the old woman talked so long and suggested so many bad things that he at last let himself be persuaded and condemned the queen to death. Why? Oh, that's not good. Now a great fire was kindled in the courtyard, and she was to be burned in it. And the king stood above at the window and watched it all with weeping eyes, for he had held her very dear. And when she was already bound fast to the stake, and the fire was licking her garments with red tongues, the last moment of the 7 years came to an end. Now she did say she'd be willing to die, didn't she? So I mean, this is a really bad way to go, but still. Then a rushing sound was heard in the air, and 12 ravens came flying and sank downwards. And as they touched the earth, they became her 12 brothers that she had lost. They rushed through the fire and quenched the flames and set their sister free, kissing and consoling her. And now that her mouth was opened and she might venture to speak, she told the king the reason of her dumbness and why she had never laughed. The king rejoiced when he heard of her innocence, and they all lived together in happiness until their death. But the wicked mother-in-law was very unhappy and died miserably. So about the 12 sons and the daughter and their awful, awful father, we don't know. We don't know. Okay, that is not clear.